I believe that the concept of race has been used in America as a tool to determine who should be building the country and who should be a citizen of the country. The white men wanted to establish the greatest, freest, united country for all citizens who deem fit for American society. Throughout each century, race has established who can be important and who exported, who are immigrants and who are indigenous, who may be property and who are citizens. And having the idea that people can be property, race, something that cannot be hid or changed, was used as the main characteristic of who can be free in our free country. In Alexander Falconbridge's account of the slave trade, he recalls, "Scarce a day passes without some Negroes being purchased and carried on board, sometimes in small and sometimes in larger numbers. The slave trade was the beginning of the cruel and unquestioned treatment of Africans. What might have seemed like an efficient way for cheap labor set the tone for racism for centuries to come. When Africans were forced on the ships, they needed to return any items of value. This further stripped away their basic human rights by suggesting that they cannot own property because then themselves are property. I quote, "The king and principal men bred Negroes for sale as we do cattle. An animal's only value to a farmer is to do work until they cannot work any more, then be ate or sold. This is similar to how Africans were treated once they become slaves. Their skin color made them more comparable to animals than to men. When men chose to see nothing to an African than his color, this gave men an excuse to act without any consequence. Nothing has been left undone to cripple their intellects, darken their minds, debase their moral nature, obliterate all traces of relationships to mankind. Yet how wonderfully they have sustained and mighty load of a most frightful bondage under which they have been groaning for centuries. They were brought to America to work to their death. But the thing about building tools is that the more united and connected they are, the stronger they are. If you have one block, it is not enough to build anything, but thousands of blocks put together creates a strong, unbreakable bond between the building tools, as well as men. By the slave code, they are judged to be as incompetent to testify against the white man as though they were indeed a part of a brute creation. Hence, there is no legal protection. Now, if the creation of our country was formed on the idea that police do not have an obligation to treat African Americans the same as white Americans, then it is just natural that the law system, schools, and employers will feel the same. Forced to fight for themselves over and over just to be accepted into a discriminating society has been a constant for African Americans. But African Americans saw themselves as tools that could not only build America, but tools that could build a free America. Inevitably, in society, with much help from the slaves, became more westernized. People couldn't turn a blind eye to the treatment of Africans. In this picture, we see exactly what can be accomplished by a strong force. Ruby Bridge was the first colored girl to go to an all-white school while in the midst of the Brown vs. Board education. Visibly disapproved by the white men, this young black girl bravely walked down the path that her ancestors spent hundreds of years paving. This is a path that continued to be paved from this point in time to eventually the complete freedom and equal rights for African Americans. Over the century, this bond accomplished by African Americans has led to them being able to benefit from the same freedoms that any other American has, even becoming the president. Yet Obama's presidency, like the success of other individuals, appear not to change the overall texture of highly visible injustice that still scars a nation built partly on slavery. We saw from the first slide to the last how the unfair treatment of Africans had built, shaped, and created our country, yet somehow, even with equal rights for all, our country is still fighting the stigmas that have been engraved into American culture for hundreds and hundreds of years. As the struggles, without a doubt, still continue today, we can only hope that one day America will rid itself of racism and be that great, free, and united country.